I am slowly working through many of the projects that are in my book, which is called Jill Wiseman's Beautiful Beaded Ropes. This book was actually, it's been hard to get your hands on for a little while because it's still selling so well that the publisher did not order a reprint of the book in time for us to run out of it here in the US for the last couple months. So it is now back in stock. And so in celebration of it being back in stock, I thought I would do my next video on a project that's included in the book. So here's the deal. The video will show you the basic steps, all the information that you need for what size beads and the quantities and all the extra little details. This is the project that we're working on today. It's called Dancing Waves. All the detail information is going to be here in the book. And this book is available at my website at jillwisemandesigns.com. I autograph the book when you order it from our website. And my dog, okay, I know, I'm kind of silly, right? But my dog, Winston, got his picture on the author page, the introduction, with me, and so he thinks he wrote the whole book, like dogs do. And so when you buy it from me, you also get his little paw stamp, so Winston signs the book also, just, you know, in case that means something to you. So let's talk about how we're going to make this necklace. It is called Dancing Waves. It's definitely a beginner-friendly project. There are only a couple of rows that we do, so it works up really quickly. You can make an entire necklace in an evening, a couple of hours maximum, which is really nice. So let's get started. I have got my beads laid out here, and the very first step that we're going to do is, let me get my thread here. I've gone ahead and added a stopper bead to my thread. I cut myself an extra long thread because we want to be able to do the first 2 rows, if possible, without adding thread. And when we start this necklace, you're going to actually string enough beads for the entire first row, and then you're going to go back and do the entire second row. So we need the thread to be extra long to be able to go back and forth twice. So just as an FYI. So I'm going to pick which bead I want to be on the bottom, and I think I'm going to pick this one. So it's literally just stringing a ton of beads on your needle and thread. When you start doing all of the stitching, that will make it start doing all the curling, it's going to shrink up a little bit on you. And so in general, I calculated on a 16-inch necklace, the shrink up was about an inch. So I had to string 17 inches of beads to end up with a 16-inch necklace. Now, let's say that you do this and you're a little concerned about how much the shrinkage is going to be. There's 2 things that you can do. One is, let me get this out of the way here. One is do your best guesstimate, and once it is all complete and shrunk up, if there's any adjustment that needs to be made, you can do it when you attach the clasp. So we can either add a bigger clasp if you need to add a little extra. You can add just a line of seed beads when you attach the clasp. So that is one option for you. The second option is if it's too short when you get done, you can actually add additional length, and you'll just have to connect back into what was already there. So the reason I bring this up now as opposed to the end is I don't want you to stress out too much about it because we have ways of fixing it. So that's going to be your first step. So I want you to go ahead and cut that extra long length of thread and string on your first round of beads. And then let's come back after that and I will show you what you're going to do on the next round. So here I am, I'm going to make my traditional Barbie necklace here. So this is all the length I'm going to do. And the next row, what we're going to do is just regular old peyote stitch. And it's up to you whether you want to use the same color, whether you want to use a different color. This is a design decision on your part. So in my case, I'm going to use the same color. So I'm picking up a bead, skipping one for it to sit next to, and passing through the next bead. So it is literally just that easy. going to do regular peyote. So this is going to be straight and flat. This is not where all the wave is going to come in. If you need a little more in-depth tutorial on regular peyote stitch, then I will pop a link up so that you can watch my full tutorial on how to do flat even count peyote stitch. And let me just mention that if for some reason you manage to pick up an odd number of beads instead of an even number, first of all, actually let me say this one thing first. Don't bother counting. It's just not worth it. Because here's the deal. If you happen to end up on when you get to the end and you have the wrong number of beads, say you picked up an odd number instead of an even number, all you've got back here is a stopper bead. Just take the stopper bead off, take that extra bead off, and problem is solved, okay? So don't bother, because you're going to be picking up so many beads for the entire length of this necklace that there's really no point in you driving yourself crazy by trying to count them and make sure that it's odd or even, because you'll just fix it by taking off a bead on the end if you need to. So this is step 2, is going the entire length and just doing regular peyote stitch. Notice that as I'm doing this, even though we call it flat peyote stitch, depending on your tension, there tends to be a natural first curve that goes on here as you're doing this. We want a curly necklace, so don't worry about trying to straighten this out. In this case, an uneven tension is going to be your friend. So go ahead and finish that all the way to the end, and then we'll turn around and I'll show you what's next. So here's how mine looks after that single row of just regular peyote. You can see there's a little wave action to it. I'm totally good with that. So now the next row, we're going to turn around and do the next row. And this time we are going to do what's known as a peyote increase. And that means in each stitch, instead of picking up a single bead in each splot, we're going to pick up 2 beads. And when we do this, we're forcing these bigger beads in to a slot that they don't fit in, which means that the piece has no choice but to kind of do all of this crazy wave action as you go along so that those beads will fit in there. So let me show you what I'm talking about as I keep going. So you notice that it's still just picking up 2 beads, passing through the next sticky outie. So that part's all normal. It's just regular peyote. Like I said, just picking up 2 beads at a time. Now here, that was the first time that as I was pulling that in, notice how all of a sudden this spot had to wave in to make room for it. So as you're going along, what you want to do is not fight the wave. You're going to actually encourage the wave, and you're kind of mold it with your fingers as you go along. And so it'll just start kind of spiraling around as you do this. Let me go a little farther so you can see it. This is my favorite part right here, is as it starts twirling on us. You do want to watch to make sure that you're not catching on other beads with your thread. Okay, there we go. So you can see that I'm really getting a curve now as this goes on. So I'm just going to keep doing that all the way to the end and just letting it do its curl thing. We've got one more row after this. So work your way to the end, and then we'll come back and show you the very last one. So you see that as I've finished this round, it looks a little hitchy, so it's got kind of this weirdness going on. I'm not going to worry too much about it until I finish this last row. At that point, that's when we can really kind of turn it and work it and shape it into these nice pretty rolls. So this is going to be our last round. What we need to do here is we're going to do what we call splitting the doubles. And so all those spots that we put 2 beads in, we're going to actually force a bead in between those 2. So there'll be a regular peyote stitch, and then there'll be a splitting the doubles stitch, and then a regular stitch, and then a splitting the doubles. So let me show you how that's going to work. So this is actually what they call the second part of an increase in peyote. So there's my single. And then here I am, I'm just going to split the double. So I'm not skipping a bead for this new bead to sit on top of. I'm going straight into the second bead that I forced into that one slot, right, like so. And then this would be a regular peyote stitch where I'm going to skip a bead right down here. It's kind of hard to see because it's so indented, but that's the bead that this new one is going to sit on top of. And I'm passing through the first bead of the double, of the next double, I should say. Okay, and then same thing. Now we're splitting the double, so I'm going straight into the next bead. So basically, if you just think of it as you are putting a bead in between each one of the beads from that last round, you're good. Let's see here. I wanted to mention, as you do this, these increase rounds, especially when you're forcing those doubles in there, and then as you get farther into the center of this piece, away from the edge, you do end up having to use some more hand strength in pulling your thread to pop that bead into place. So I will frequently, like this is a good place for it, it's kind of sitting up on top of those two beads, but I really want it to sit in between them, because when you make it sit in between them, that's part of what makes it twist. So what I'm doing is I'm actually putting down my needle so I can get a better handle on this thread, and I'm pulling so I can pull harder on it. And you will literally feel it pop into place. And then I'm just moving on to this next one. Same thing, kind of popping it into place. Kind of pinch. I wonder if I looped my thread. That's why that wasn't sitting right. There we go. I wasn't getting my little pop. I knew there had to be something wrong. So you can see that now as I'm doing this, it's really coiling. There we go. See how it's coiling up even more now? So you're going to go ahead and finish this entire length, but let me tell you, that's your last round. So after that, all you have left is adding your clasp. And let me just give you kind of a quick little lesson on how you would do that, because it's very, very easy to add a clasp here. In this case, I picked, you don't want, because this is not a really thick, huge, heavy rope, you kind of want a smaller scale clasp so that it's in keeping with the scale. On this one, what I picked is this beautiful Elegant Options is what this is called. Elegant Option, I'm sorry, not Elegant Options, Elegant Elements clasp. And it has these embedded crystals in it, so I just thought that that would be really pretty. And this is a whole line of clasps that we carry at Jill Wiseman Designs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stopper bead off here, and what you would do in your case, you would either leave a longer tail so that you could use this tail to attach your clasp, or you would end off this tail and add a new thread to attach your clasp. Just FYI, this amount is kind of pushing it with being able to attach a clasp. But let's just say this is long enough. All you're going to do is pick up a small loop of beads and then just hook them into the loop on either side of the clasp, and then go right back into that same bead that you came out of in the base of the necklace. And then to turn around, to come back, because my rule of thumb is I want 3 passes of thread through any attachment to a clasp. So to turn around, what you can do is actually just tie a little half hitch knot so that you can turn back and go the opposite direction. So I would actually, in my case, what I would do is I would create my little loop, go back in through that first bead, probably pass through a couple more beads. You can either tie a half hitch knot or come up one of these wave beads. You just remember, you just want to make sure your thread is being hidden inside the beads so that you can come back out, reinforce, come back into the main part of the necklace, either tie a knot or weave around so that you can change direction and go back. Do it a third time, and then this last time when you come back into the base of the necklace, what you're going to do is tie knots, a couple of half hitch knots, and end off your thread. And you'll do the same thing on the opposite side. And then you will have a beautiful dancing waves necklace, and it will happen in absolutely no time at all. So this is one of those projects that's super great when you have, a last minute event to go to, when you have a present that you need to do at the last minute. It's a beginner level project, so you don't need any previous bead weaving experience to do this. I guarantee you that this is a doable project for absolutely anyone. And so all of the details that you need to know about quantities and sizes and all of that kind of thing are in the pattern, which is in the book. Like I said, it's available at jillwisemandesigns.com. Comes with my autograph, comes with Winston's autograph, and I will pop a link up for you so that you can find those. Happy beading!